Hello, my name is Caitlin, and I'm a student in FNH 355. Just a brief overview, this video will be divided into 6 sections. This includes the introduction, experience, action, reflection, lesson, and future. Introduction, what I did and why. So what I did for my project is that I used social media to raise awareness on global hunger and its consequences. More specifically, I posted on my Instagram story every Sunday from October 8th to November 12th, so 6 weeks with a total of 25 story postings. I decided to use social media, specifically Instagram, to present this action because a lot of my peers reply or interact with my stories when I make story postings on my personal life. So I figured that I would have the same impact regarding my awareness posts. I decided to use the interactive features on my story posts because polls engage the audience with minimal effort and encourage more people to participate due to their curiosity about the results of others. Social media posts, how can they benefit your business entity? This worked. I got many respondents. My goal initially is to achieve 50 interactions. However, totaling up all of my postings, I have received 150 different interactions, which is triple the amount of engagements that I originally intended to achieve, and that shows I got the audience to read my postings and engage in them. My plan was different from how I imagined it at the beginning of the planning stage, as I decided not to post on YouTube as I thought I would not get engagement on that platform. And I changed my posted content on Instagram a bit over halfway throughout my project after speaking to Professor Rido and TA Micah. Originally, I used the FNH 355 class slides as a direct reference to put into a graphically appealing format, but I changed my content to make it more personable, which I will talk about more later. Experience. What was it like? Portion 1, the beginning. How many million people experience hunger in 2022? My scale ranged from 100 million to 1 billion. So here's a screenshot of the results. As you can see, with all of these 32 responses, the average answer works out to be approximately 700 million people who are affected by hunger in 2022. This average answer of respondents turns out to be more accurate to the statistical answer of approximately 691 to 783 million people. The next week, I decided to post about Yemen, like how we discussed in class. Around 17 million people in Yemen are food insecure, so action needs to be taken. This is why I provided the link for Action for Humanity. I picked this website because it advocates for preventative measures against hunger and sickness. Next, I asked a question to the viewers: which of the following is a staple food? The following goes: cabbage, rice, beef, processed foods. Out of 31 respondents, 77% chose the correct answer, which is awesome. Afterward, I explained the definition of staple foods. Following that, I provided a "Did you know" slide about famine foods, and just provided a brief explanation about that. The week after, I educated my viewers on what's happening in Venezuela. Keep in mind that this information is all derived from the course notes, which I will explain later. That is not how I wanted my project to be. This is why I provided the link for the UN Refugee Agency to represent for the donation for Venezuela, because they advocate for medicine, essential services, shelter, and so on. Following that, I provided a "Did you know" slide about the differences between wasting and stunting. I proceeded to test my viewers' understanding by posting a poll reading which child is stunted, the child on the left or the right. Out of 27 respondents, 81% were correct. The week after, I educated my viewers on Nepal. I picked Save the Children to represent Nepal because they advocate for the health and well-being of children to protect them from harm and provide opportunities for them to learn, as children are the most vulnerable in crises like natural disasters. Following the story, I created a visually appealing slide on the consequences of malnutrition. But wait, here's where everything changes. After speaking with Professor Rido, I absolutely changed the content of my postings, and she gave me great advice to use my own ideas, and now my recent postings are more authentic. I wanted to incorporate a different perspective so the rest of my project is more personable. Additionally, emailing TA Micah for further feedback on the first part of the assignment gave lots of valuable insight on how to refine this portion of the project. So here's how it will continue. Portion 2, the turning point. I created a story of Mexico, but instead of referencing the slides that Professor Rido created for the course content, I created my own little twist. I incorporated 2 photographs of street vendors in Mexico. The reason is, after visiting Mexico 4 different times, I'm always attracted to the bright colors that they always display at the flea markets. I realize this as it attracts customers because our eyes are naturally drawn to brighter objects as they catch our eyes. Therefore, I asked the question, what do you notice about the street vendors in the picture? And I wanted to gauge the opinions of different people. So out of 24 respondents, half of them noticed the bright colors, 33% noticed the cheap prices, and 17% noticed the unhealthy foods, and no one noticed obesity. I found this information pretty useful to see what my audience notices first. Just like me, half of them noticed the bright colors. I followed by explaining my thought process. Since we were talking about unhealthy foods in Mexico, I included the site The Global Food Banking Network. This agency provided 1.7 million people living in Mexico with proper food. To prevent obesity, people need to have the proper dietary intake to prevent spending on unhealthy foods. Next, I included a finding from the article called Affordability of Food and Beverages in Mexico between 1994 and 2016, which summarizes the inclining expenses spent on food and beverages. The graph illustrates that lower income people spend their money on unhealthier foods as it is relative to the calories of healthier foods. The next picture shows a bonus slide that I incorporated into my story, which is meant for this class. However, it is assignment B, create art for social justice. I was surprised because out of 26 respondents, 73% have thought about hunger in first world countries. I included some information that the audience can apply in their homes. I gave a definition of what edema is and what it causes. Then I listed step-by-step instructions on how to check it at home. Next, I also wanted to make an impact on others' homes, so I created how to be sustainable with food at home. Here are the 8 points inspired by WWF. As well, I proceeded to share what I personally do in my own household. I asked my audience if they have ever used these methods before, and out of 9 respondents, 89% mentioned they have. The 11% that did not, which works out to be one person, I educated them on how to be sustainable. Action. How did I affect world hunger? To break it down, I provided the links to many different agencies and advocated them with respect to a particular country that I talked about. Donations affect world hunger as those agencies use the donated money to assist those needy countries for certain purposes. I also provided my audience with insight on how to detect any edema at home. This affects world hunger because now they can test for edema at their home and educate their peers, which will educate their peers. If edema occurs, it could possibly mean the person has severe acute malnutrition, SAM. Lastly, I provided examples and methods on how to be sustainable with food at home. I found that this would be the most beneficial because people could directly apply this in their homes and would apply to every household. Reflection. Did I make a difference? I thought that my postings about awareness would be effective as a study showed that half of its respondents expressed that social media platforms effectively enhance public awareness of social issues. Oxer and McLean 2020. However, honestly, I don't think I achieved my goal of making a difference in my actions towards ending world hunger. The reason is that I have insights on how many people clicked on the action links that I provided, and I read 0 people. On the other hand, being sustainable at home would be the most beneficial in making a difference, but only 1 person responded to using my methods and applying it in their home to reduce hunger. This reduces hunger because this will reduce the food losses and provide more food for those who actually are in need of it. Lesson. What did I learn? From this whole experience, I found that it takes a lot of effort to schedule consistently. Posting every Sunday taught me how to be disciplined. It requires a lot of planning and time management to create content and make the graphics aesthetically pleasing. At times, I had to set aside other classes in order to work on the Instagram story postings for this project. It taught me how to prioritize tasks that are due sooner and to manage my time on completing the posts efficiently, but making sure the quality is aesthetically pleasing to attract the audience. Future. What will I do moving forward? Moving forward, I feel like I will incorporate more ways to be more sustainable in my own home. One method that I found while researching that I will now apply is to shop locally. As a matter of fact, I would avoid consuming local foods due to the expensive prices. However, buying local foods will benefit my nutritional health as pesticides are most likely not used. It will also benefit the families of local farmers. The importance of buying locally 2020. And that concludes my project. Thank you.